innovations and how social media influences these innovations really got to healthcare as one of these industries kind of late.
Hello, welcome to the Better Outcomes Show, where we explore the possibilities of a new healthcare. Each episode, we bring you a conversation with leaders across the healthcare industry, exploring topics ranging from new treatment techniques and interventions to novel service delivery methods and business models. And now your host, Rafi Salazar from Rehab Practice Solutions, a leader in patient engagement and retention strategy. Let's explore the possibilities of a new healthcare.
Well, hello again. Welcome to another episode of the Better Outcomes Show. I'm your host, Rafi Salazar from Rehab Practice Solutions. We are the creators of the Healthcare Positioning Alignment Workshop. So if you want to develop an effective value proposition for your innovative healthcare company, that is the workshop I'd recommend you take. You can find out more about that at positioning.rehabpracticesolutions.com. I feel like I talk about it enough. You don't need the whole pitch. I am going to bring up that it is the beginning of 2024, and we've already been fielding a couple of these inquiries and questions about having me come to speak or train at maybe a corporate event or an organization or a conference. We have thus set up a page that has all of that information. So if you're interested in inquiring about having me come to speak, maybe at a conference or your company, or do some training around the principles of humanizing healthcare, technology-enabled care, innovation in healthcare, et cetera, you can find out more about that at speaking.rafisalazar.com. Basically, my goal and my aim in any of the engagements that I do on this front is to allow you and really to facilitate you receiving the tools and insights necessary to help you, your audience, or your organization move the needle towards really integrated, humanized healthcare that involves maybe some innovation, integrating hybrid models of practice or various value-based reimbursement or revenue models. If that's something you're interested in, again, go to speaking.rafisalazar.com. I've got all the information there. You don't need any more of a sales pitch from me. Alrighty. This week, we are diving into the world of gamification, social media, individualized patient care using technology. This is one of those topics that kind of comes up a lot in the idea of gamification. You know, we got this new technology or this new platform to deliver XYZ service or treatment, and it's gamified. But there's a lot of, I'm not going to say charlatans, that's too much of a negative word, but the word gamification is thrown around a lot. And there are clinicians and organizations that might understand a little bit about it in principle, and then there are others that are like, what the heck does a gamified rehab environment mean, for example, in the OT and PT world? So I ended up tracking down a very good guest who I'm going to introduce to you now, and we'll dive right into this conversation. But Raisa is the CEO of Healing Hand Tech. And they're developing a fully remote end-to-end solution for upper limb rehabilitation with a personalized game environment controlled by the clinicians or by the therapists. Currently, with their core development team, they're on their way to finish a functional prototype by the end of March 2024. So if you're listening to this after that date, they're probably up and running. We'll link to their website in the show notes. But they basically combine a wearable technology device, a mobile game, and a remote therapeutic platform. So we have a discussion. Raisa and I first got connected, and we were talking about this whole idea of like B2B versus B2C to B marketing. And we talk about that a little bit in this show, but then we really dive into the ins and outs of what does gamification mean? What are the mechanisms involved in it? What does it entail? Like, what does the term gamification actually mean? And then what are all the different pieces you need to have in place? You know, Raisa mentions very early on, like there's a lot of focus put on the quote unquote end user, the patient in the environment or using that solution. But the reality is there's really two end users, and one of those end users is critically important, and that would be the clinician. So we spent some time talking about some barriers that might prevent clinicians from implementing a new tool or technology like this. We talk about patient engagement, patient experience. We talk about the B2B versus B2C to B, using and leveraging social media, building a community of care. So all in all, super exciting conversation, interesting conversation. Without further ado, I will I'll let you have it. Here is Raisa from Healing Hand Tech talking about gamification, personalized healthcare, and building a community of care with technology. Well, hey, Raisa, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to diving into this topic in particular. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what brought you to what you're doing now.
Well, hello to everyone who's listening. I'm Raisa. I'm founder and CEO of Healing Hand Tech. In one sentence, what we're doing, what we are developing is we are a med tech prototype stage startup developing a fully remote end-to-end solution for upper limb rehabilitation after stroke with personalized game environment controlled by therapists. So we're planning to start with stroke in US when we finish the device, but we can expand to other diagnosis later. It's a relatively kind of it's a strong but relatively kind of crucial small team surrounded by a lot of supporters. And my own background is I started as a psychologist by background, but I moved
Oh,
over the
okay.
years to um, uh, product strategy, like startups, business, and product strategy. So nowadays, um, the two most important things to know about myself is I love product strategy for serious gaming, and that's what I specialize in. And I'm very good at bootstrapping and kind of actually make getting the resources work for you in the best possible way. Um, well, all startups can brag about that, although
Yeah.
let's just be honest about this. My co-founder, Skylar, kind of the CTO, she has background in neuroprosthetics, with the experience and specialization in upper extremity motor task rehabilitation. Amazing skills, great mindset, and we're kind of working to finish our prototype by March, kind of TRL6 kind of prototype that will be ready to test in clinics and ready to truly change the patient experience for the better.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's interesting, talking with a bunch of folks like y'all. It's they mention it like in Silicon Valley, like, oh, this non-technical founder thing going on, but it seems, especially in healthcare, like there's a lot of things going on. You need the clinical background and understanding, and you need the coding technology standpoint, and then you need someone like you to kind of pull it all together and make it happen. So,
True. Yeah.
it
Some
is
kind
it is
of
interesting.
at some point you become this person. I guess anyone who specializes in business strategy would
Yeah,
kind of at least partly understand um, that you have this giant 10-dimensional scheme in your head with everything related to the product connecting together so that you will have this opportunity to connect the parts that you didn't think were actually connected or influencing each other in such a way. And I guess that's what product strategy is about after all.
yeah, yeah. So when we talked earlier, we you'd mentioned something that was just an interesting idea to me, which I had seen a little bit kind of in the background, but you made it very very clear. So a lot of times, when we're talking about, especially like your company and companies like yours, are in the end of the day they're B2B, right? You're serving the providers, the provider organizations. Those are your ultimate clients. But especially in healthcare, you've got the end user, so to speak, is not just the clinician. It's the patient, right? The patient's going to be the one experiencing the product in real time. They're going to be using it for their, in this case, rehabilitation after a stroke. And you mentioned the idea of the shift happening in healthcare, specifically away from like this old school B2B model of business development to more of this maybe B2C, but really B2C2B model, where you're kind of attracting
Yeah.
the patient or the customer and then using that to kind of draw in the organization. So talk a little bit about that, and we'll kind of dive in as we get into it.
Of course. Yeah, that sounds great. So, but although I will just, we are talking about the users. Don't forget the therapists and the health professionals,
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
They are often ignored when it comes to, in our case, we have therapists controlling and being our users from the hospital, and patients being our users, but both
yeah.
are
You have two end
extremely
users
important.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and health professionals' experience are often ignored. But anyway, back to your question. When it comes to at some point, again, I'm talking as the kind of the 30-year-old not coming originally from the medical background. So I, after learning everything about US healthcare, all the minuses and everything, at some point I realized that it started back in the past years and years and years ago with you selling like medical device as some kind of object. So you sell you kind of the purchase finished. Yes, there is maintenance and everything, but it was kind of relatively simple.
Yeah.
Then as simple as it can be in US healthcare anyway. But then it is, and how it is still in many cases, service as a medical device. It is a continuous process, especially when it comes to the software. You need subscription, you need, like, it influenced, of course, obviously the monetization models, but it influenced how the medical devices present and communicate with everyone related. But as it usually happens with healthcare and several other industries, innovations and how social media influences these innovations really got to healthcare as one of these industries kind of late, let's be
Yeah.
honest. And finally, it got to it that it's not just about service anymore. It's about something that other industries like tech industries or especially entertainment industry um, get kind of see as 101, kind of the very, very basics that you don't even need to explain. You are selling an experience, and it starts and ends with an experience. You are dealing with social media where you cannot ignore. Health providers are becoming video bloggers and with podcasts
Yeah.
and talking about the experience and talking about the problems and talking about how it is and so on and so on, highlighting, complaining so that you can actually find a solution for that and so on. And patients finding each other online for, especially with our devices, it's especially important because stroke is a very community forming condition. And you cannot ignore this social media anymore because whether or not you, as a medical device, as a company, participate in all of this
It's
communication,
happening.
all of this interaction, it's happening. You can either adapt or you can either rebuild how you communicate with the outer world as a company, or you can conform or try to survive and wait for competitors to get it for you or
Exactly.
before you. And that's how it starts when you actually start realizing that, oh, I believe it looks like I need to go to the gaming industry and to entertainment industry to figure out how they communicate with their auditory, be it clients, be it potential clients, everyone related, everyone who is interested. It's not just about the potential payer anymore. It doesn't, let me say that clear, it does not replace the traditional nightmare of the hundreds of thousands of different payers, and you need to figure out this perfect formula of sales channels and who is your best payer or payers. They're talking about US after all, and so on and so on. All of this nightmare stays the same. Nothing changes that.
It's just an
Value-based
added
healthcare is
dimension.
changing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but it is another dimension that you absolutely perfect word here, Rafi, truly perfect dimension, because values and missions of these two dimensions interactive and traditional are completely different. The goals, how they see the goal of healthcare and the goal of medical device and selling medical device are completely different as well. Everything is different, which becomes tragic. What I was going to say ironic, but it's truly tragic how you need to pretty much tell sometimes different stories when you at some point in one conversation you need to highlight how I'm going to increase the billable hours, I'm going to help you do this and this, which is not exactly value-based healthcare, let us be honest. And in other conversations, you're pushing for the experience, you're pushing for cost effectiveness, you're pushing for it's you it's still the same product.
Yeah.
So but you need to create absolutely different type of experience for patients, for family members and community around the patient. And they become, that is a totally different kind of experience, which you didn't need to think about before,
Yeah.
right? The health providers and payers and health professionals and all of the therapists, nurses, and everyone who is actually participating in the treatment process before and after. That would be kind of
Yeah.
overall short answer to your first question.
Well, and it just highlights the complexity, right? I talk to people all the time. I'm like, well, what's the best value proposition for this? And I'm like, well, it depends who are you talking to today? Because if you're talking to
True.
the provider, they've got an entire set of requirements or expectations or things that they want to see out of a tool or software or device. And then the patient has a totally different, set of expectations, and the payer on top of that even has more. So, I guess let's focus in on specifically this idea of like user generated content and social media. Like there's even within that realm, there's a couple different ways, right? There's the social media you mentioned on the provider side, where providers are now running blogs or giving product reviews, or, oh, I hate using this in the clinic, or I love using this in the clinic. And then there's the patient saying, oh, my therapist or my clinician used this with me and I loved it or I hated it. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Or commenting. Don't forget commenting the inaccurate medical themed TikToks.
Oh,
that is
yeah.
a whole another story, which is also a part of this whole experience in social media.
Yeah, I mean it is crazy. Like part of the benefit, I love talking about like what the internet has allowed us to do. Well, it gives everybody a voice. It's decentralized communication, but that also means anybody can publish something, right? So how do you navigate that as a company, trying to get your message out there, trying to get the right people to listen and make sure that it's one, evidence-based or it's accurate, in this whole sea of everybody being able to kind of have a part of the discourse.
True. Well, I guess you said it yourself. You need to listen first of all. When it comes to, or like properly, truly listen and look at what exactly is happening around you. How it happened with me personally, for example, is I was looking how and researching. Originally, it started with a very simple, primitive goal. I needed to, we were pivoting. Previous prototype didn't validate. I was broken mentally, and I was trying to kind of realize where to pivot and what exactly features to include and so on. And I am a psychologist after all, so I went to Facebook and I started kind of looking through. It started by looking for different stroke patients who could talk to me, and I need to learn about their experience. But then again, in the end, that's why we are adding multiplayer to our product in a very kind of special form, but that is a story for another day. You see the stroke patients communities on Facebook. You see the stroke caretakers communities on Facebook. For example, stroke caretakers, kind of family members and friends. These communities can be sometimes closed, so you need to be not a patient to actually join it.
Yeah.
And it's more than that. It's the peer-to-peer uh, treatment, peer-to-peer rehabilitation mentoring that these Facebook groups actually were organized for, which blew my mind. More experienced patients, which are not exactly um, kind of maybe active with tech solutions and so on, but they go on Facebook, they organize these groups, they spend their time to organize this community, to find mentees, and to start these communication and interaction process. And let us be honest, the types of motivations and the type of communication that one patient can allow with another is completely different compared to what um, therapists can allow themselves to demonstrate with in the polite interaction with the patient. So that's sometimes, oh, come on, don't lie to me. Of course you can do this. Come on, get up from the sofa and do
Yeah.
rehabilitate. Therapists cannot really afford that, considering the requirements. And this is the community that you see. You see the demand. If peer-to-peer mentoring is not a cry out loud for multiplayer, I don't know what is. But of course, as many product strategists, as many ideas and opinions, but then again, you need to listen what exactly is happening. You need to look at what the needs to look at what how the therapists are communicating. You need to let us start with a very simple one. Don't forget about health professionals'
Yeah.
experience. That it actually needs to be comfortable, because it will influence as a factor how exactly the patient is doing in the end, and how their experience, how comfortable is their experience. Um, and to see all of these factors, to see how as not just the patient as an object that you are treating. Believe it or not, surprise news, patient is a living object with an
Exactly.
opinion, no less. Can you believe this? I guess it was kind of news for healthcare industry at some point. Oh my God, we kind of forgot about that. It has
Yeah.
opinions. It
You know, and not
has
just a
kind of,
diagnosis. It's not just a
yeah,
stroke that we're treating.
I will tell you a secret. If the experience is actually comfortable, can you believe this? The result is better.
Yeah.
How cool is that? We didn't see that one coming. Uh, that's the kind of reaction that I saw all of the kind of news about, oh my God, gamification. Oh my gosh, before it became the buzzword,
Yeah, the cool thing in
unfortunately.
healthcare
But
tech.
yeah, kind of for using it just for the sake of investment rather for the sake of uh,
User
actual
engagement.
clinical
Yeah.
value. Actual clinical value. Yeah. Um, oh my gosh, gamification works. Oh my God. Uh, for example, do you need a special academic research kind of sorry, I will rephrase that. In gaming industry, they know it as something that you don't even need to explain. In the healthcare industry, it was kind of news, that came after uh, like an academic research telling you that if you have a narrative in the game, some kind of story that you are following, you actually have better interaction and higher compliance with the treatment program and fewer dropouts. It wasn't exactly kind of a surprise. If you learn from the industries that definitely know what they're doing, like gaming, like entertainment,
Yeah.
what I love about the gaming industry is they've been doing it for decades. They've
Yeah.
been
They've had this thing dialed in
making
forever.
Yes, they figured it out decades ago. They figured out, for example, one of the main innovation of ours, like as Healing Hand, is this personalization of the experience, personalization of the game environment, of the treatment program. I looked at some point at the gaming industry, they've had personal, like, kind of idea that different players need different things and interested in different things in the same game. They have different goals. For decades,
Yeah.
you didn't need to prove that to them. You didn't need to prove to them that with the narrative there will be kind of like easier interaction and so on. Although it depends on the specific game and specific genre. Just to give credit to the gaming industry, it's far too complex to generalize everything. But at some point, I conducted an experiment, small one, and showed the behavior change techniques to like health psychology gold of like forming a habit, making it kind of help for example, help the patients to change and adapt their lifestyle after a diagnosis and so on. Truly amazing and truly like valuable thing. And then I just took the list of these behavior change techniques and showed them to very experienced management level game designer. Um, Without even reading, these was just the names of the terms, no definitions, no nothing. They recognized half of them immediately without
Wow.
even knowing. They've been creating products that are interactive enough, entertaining enough for players, in our case, as patients, to be interested enough to spend hundreds of hours using these
Yeah.
products.
And millions of dollars a
That
year.
exactly. That's the kind of compliance that we need. The important difference, though, is that unlike gaming industry, we have accessibility standards.
Yeah.
Gaming industry still doesn't. And unlike gaming industry, we are creating these addictive, what they call addictive games. We are not making it addictive to monetize, or well, kind
Yeah,
of
that's not the end
monetization
goal. I
and
mean, the end
kind of
goal is engagement
yeah,
for
like
clinical
the enormous
outcomes. Yeah.
bills come like not directly in the game at least, but the addictive games is not about making you monetize the game or making you pay, but making you exercise more. Well, I'm just using us as a result.
Yeah.
That's the kind of um, and plus we could of course stop at building just this gamified experience and so on, and then let the patients figure it out um, later, like when after they already got the product. So judge just by the clinical value, or judge just by the therapist's um, recommendation or information that they get. You cannot escape. Unfortunately, of course, in the ideal world, no pharmaceutical solutions, no medical devices, nothing would have been advertised to the patients directly. Because we do know, of course, all of the disadvantages and all of the risks and dangers,
Yeah. Yeah.
sadly, that come from it. That's not something that will be hypocritical not to mention that. But it's not something you can escape. You will need to cancel the internet to do this.
Yeah.
What you, yeah, what you can do is to make it a method instead. I will explain what I mean by this. Gamification started as a new thing to, okay, let's try this. Then it slowly, step by step, changed and transformed into a buzzword. Oh, wow, let us use it absolutely everywhere just because it attracts attention. Um, and yes, that created a certain filter already in people's eyes, investors, health professionals, everyone, to see what is good gamification and what is bad. So gamification starting to become a clinical method that you use. You need to understand what exactly goal you have to use gamification and whether you are using it correctly. So as much as I can say that without kind of not actually being kind of a scientist by
Yeah.
background or an engineer, it becomes a method that you use and that you need to properly execute if you don't want this to be a waste of money, a waste of attention, and so on. And same comes with this um, marketing or community forming marketing and sales activities around the medical device. You need to understand why exactly you are doing this and this goal. Am I doing this to sell it to more patients because I care about just the number of sales and not the clinical value? Like, let's not point fingers at the pharmaceutical industry here. Or are we doing this because stroke is a community forming disease? It is very important for them to understand this, and we are being, and how exactly you execute this. So,
Yeah.
are we being ethical in providing all of the situation? Are we ethical in explaining, yes, it is suitable for you, but not, it is not exactly suitable for you. Please go and confirm it with your therapist. And that's why revenue model style, it's still B2B, and marketing and sales style, it's B2B2C. You cannot avoid, um, if you cannot control it, lead the way, then
Yeah.
at least that kind of style. But on the other hand, you still do it through health providers, through health professionals, one way or another, so that together with all of your kind of proper education and proper kind of raising awareness activities with patients and families and community around the patient, to make sure that they truly understand what they need and do not spend or waste their time and money, time uh, being important, uh, because you can lose this time that you can spend on getting the better results from your treatment. Um, and money, obviously, to on something that is not exactly for you, that you got just because of good marketing or just because the video um, was too bright and too colorful for you to ignore. Um, kind of something like that.
Yeah, no, I think I want you mentioned like the paralleling it with the pharmaceutical industry, but there has been a lot of that in the on the internet where it's, take this pill, do this injection, do this shot, whatever it is, this thing is going to fix you, and then you've got patients coming to
Everything.
clinicians. Yeah,
This thing is going to fix everything
yeah,
in
it's a
just one
magic
pill.
pill. But I think, like you said, I think there's so much value in obviously we go through the clinician, we educate the clinician, we show them this is the value we can provide, this is how we're going to help your patients, but the patients are going to need to know something ahead of time as well, right? And we need to be kind of have our foot in both worlds, so maybe we're not like steamrolling directly into the B2C where we're marketing directly to patients, but we might say, your patient or your clinician might have mentioned this, or you might have seen this around the clinic, and this is kind of what we do, and this
Yeah,
is how we work, and that way you're providing context for the patient while they're getting introduced to this by the clinician. I
true.
think that's a great way of handling it.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the bottom here of the hour, but this has been awesome. If there was like one or two main takeaways you'd want maybe for either a clinician or someone like in your shoes, maybe they're going to be doing business development for a tech company or something like that in the healthcare tech space, and they're wondering like, where do I focus my time? Like, what would it be for you?
Well, the most important, like there are several takeaways, but
Yeah.
I guess first two ones is uh, the patient kind of realize the fact you don't need to empower the patients and the community around the patient. They are already empowered. They want to find the research, the academic research. They will find any academic
Yeah.
research and any information. That's what the internet is about. Your responsibility, like you can do nothing with it at some point. So realize that the patient and the community around patient is already empowered, and always take this into consideration when you are designing the product, designing go-to-market sales, and everything that everything around your professional life as a health professional or device or or a medical service that you will be kind of developing and selling. Just because it influences everything much, much more than we realize now at this stage, because we're only beginning to enter this experience as a medical device kind of era. Second is don't be afraid to learn and borrow from other industries,
Yeah, that's a big
industries
one.
that are professionals are very good at learning how, at teaching you and making it fun, making it exciting, making it comfortable, making it um, an experience that feels safe and wonderful as a result. Because all of the tricks that you think you are reinventing here, gaming industry and entertainment industry probably realized years ago. Um, they just call it different terms.
Yeah,
Be aware of it. Absolutely different terms, absolutely different reflexes when it comes to professional life. So you will need it takes time to realize to translate between the terms you use and the terms gaming industry or like
yeah,
entertainment
exactly.
industry uses for the same thing. But once you get it, it's wonderful. And I guess the third thing is same advice I give about the gamification and can I call it gamified kind of gamific kind of around gamification kind of go-to-market strategy or something like that, kind of patient-centered medical device sales, something like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's good.
Um, and yeah, like patient sales, like patient value-based kind of medical device sales. But anyway, you um, without forgetting about the ethics and everything, the easiest way to approach this to kind of to make it structured so that you don't get lost in all of this chaos of different methods of different kind of activities and different ideas that you will find a lot. Consider it as a method. What is exactly the goal of using this particular method with my device and not the other, applying this method and not the other. How exactly I'm going to execute this? Am I going to measure the results of this of applying this method to this particular problem or to this particular object or process like sales and marketing? Consider it as a method which starts always with the two questions: how am I? What exactly is the target and the goal of me doing this? And how am I gonna execute, uh, reach this goal by applying this method? Will it actually help me, or am I kind of, and how exactly it's gonna help me? That, ironically, as simple as it is, helps you to filter out the methods and the ideas that you either don't need at all or don't need at this stage.
Yeah.
Um, and at least helps you to apply this without, um, as I said, without getting lost.
Yeah. Or
So to make
overwhelmed.
it
And yeah.
structured. Yeah, overwhelmed by all of the, oh my God, it's so bright. It's TikToks and the explainer videos and webinars and everything and everything and everything. ChatGPT will give you a lot of ideas for the marketing when you go and ask it. When you probably paused during listening to our podcast or looking at it or
Yeah.
watching it, went to ChatGPT and asked, like, give me the ideas of how gaming industry uses marketing to sell to players. You can go there. It's going to be a long list. It's
Yeah. Pages
you
and
don't
pages of
need it
information.
all
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah, you know, like it's ideas is not the problem. Filtering and applying them at the right time, in the right way is the what you need to think about. And while adapting it to the medical industry, meaning that it's ethical and applying it as a method helps you to stay ethical, stay structured, and stay value based, which is, after all, this is what we are here all for.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's going to be kind of long three
No,
takeaways.
that's great. That's awesome. Well, Raisa, thanks so much for taking the time. Um,
Of course.
Where can people find out more about you? Connect with Healing Hand, all of the places where they can connect with you, see what you're working on, all of that.
Well, first of all, you can start with the easiest way, I guess, will be to start with our website. It's healinghand.tech. And there you can find information about the product, also about me and Skylar as the co-founders. And there you will also be able to find our LinkedIn pages as well, links to them. And we are always open for communication and open to connections. I love feedback. I guess it's interactive kind of product strategy and interactive kind of go-to-market strategy. So we're always open for feedback and opinions and people who would like to take a look and maybe try. So yeah, something like that.
Awesome. Cool deal. Well, thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thank you very much for inviting me and good day to everyone.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation all about gamification, technology, social media, building a community of care, various different sales channels and marketing strategies for healthcare technology. I think one of the things that sticks out to me now listening to it again, listening to the conversation again, is this idea. She said, Raisa mentioned it kind of in passing, was that like this change has occurred in healthcare, right? And this specifically speaking about a community of care being built. You know, clinicians are now social media people. They're now media personalities in a lot of cases. Um, in fact, I remember a couple months ago, one of the OTs in the clinic that I own and operate was looking for some kind of solution for a splint or something, an orthotic she was going to fabricate, and the first place they went was Instagram to follow. There's some hand therapist that's out there cranking out videos of them making these pretty cool orthotics, pretty complex orthotics. And I was like, oh man, this is it. It was then when it hit me like, okay, clinicians are now distributing information about this. Obviously, we've always kind of had this idea of clinicians using social media maybe to connect with maybe even each other on a professional level, but it was always like, okay, we're going to ask a question or I'm going to email somebody. But now it's like, okay, they're putting this information out there and it's being consumed by other therapists or other clinicians that are using it in care. The same thing is happening with patients, right? Patients are walking, maybe it's a stroke survivor or something like that, walking other patients through their recovery journey, and a community is building around that. And one of the things that Raisa said was like that's a change that's already happened, and it's healthcare needs to, and healthcare organizations need to recognize that and either get on board or get left behind. You know, like I'm thinking back to Blockbuster before Netflix. You know, people were going to stream videos on the internet. They did not see that change happening and they got left behind, right? Like I wonder what the implications are going to be for healthcare organizations that fail to do a good job of really capitalizing on the opportunity that technology has and social media have created to build communities of care around maybe specific diagnoses or specialties or something like that. Like I think the opportunity is very, very ripe there to do things that not only can maybe provide additional sources of revenue for the organization, but then also improve the continuity of care. You know, peer-to-peer recovery programs, for example, are a very basic example of this. But how much of that is applicable to, total hip replacements, to stroke rehabilitation, to blindness or ophthalmology, or cancer survivorship, or whatever specialty? I'm sure there's a need and a desire there among not just clinicians looking for information, but really patients looking for camaraderie, for support, for that community as they're walking through that healthcare experience. And I think it poses a great opportunity for healthcare organizations moving forward. So that's just one of the things that stepped out at me. The other thing was the entire idea of gamification and kind of exploring what that means. So hopefully you found the show and the conversation enjoyable, insightful. If you want to follow up with Raisa or Healing Hand, I will link to all of that in the show notes. You can find that at rehabilipracticesolutions.com. Go to the podcast tab. It'll be episode 115. So you can go look at that as well and find connections for all of the connections, links to all the connection places. And if you like the show and you want to support it, share the episode or an episode in our catalog with somebody that you think would find it valuable. Again, shameless plug here. If you want to learn more about the book, Better Outcomes, A Guide to Humanizing Healthcare, you can find that at book.betteroutcomes.show. Alrighty, until the next time, be safe, be healthy. I will talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to the Better Outcomes Show, where we explore the possibilities of a new healthcare. Our hope is that you walk away from each episode informed, equipped, and empowered to push the boundaries in your own practice or business. We want to give you the tools to help you build strong, long-lasting relationships with your patients and clients, helping meet their goals, improve their health, and achieve better outcomes. Learn more at www.rehabilipracticesolutions.com. We'll catch you on the next episode.